Okay, I'm on here. Let's see. So I have this ticket to display ontology IDs, which are in a query format, where there's a prefix and a identifier separated by a colon. And he had a suggestion that I not do this, where I'm splitting the term apart just for rendering, but that we split the prefix and the identifier um, much earlier and just treat them as a compound object. So I wanted to give that a try. Um, so I already have this ontology.js, so it seems like a nice place. What I wanted to actually give a try is a class, and just move this class around. So let's give that a try, see if this seems good. I feel positive about it. We'll just call it, I'm almost wondering if we should make a new file for this. Let's try that. I'll call it query.js for the compact uniform resource identifier, and I'll export a class. Should it be all uppercase? That'd be weird. I'll just do it this way. Class. Okay, well, let's start with that. Interesting. So what I want to do is just pass that. Yeah, I suppose saving it works. And also we should split it here. Ooh, why didn't that work? Okay, there we go. Okay, so at this point, we can split it. I guess I don't really need this. Um, Also, there's the, what was that syntax for private? Let me look that up. Private, JavaScript, private data members in a class. Sure. I think it was just this. A pound static. This private. Yeah. Okay. Let me try that. Oops. And God, what's going on here? Okay. Um. Actually, let me look up queries again. I wanted to see what if there's a regular term for each of the pieces. Prefix, delimiter, identifier. Okay. Makes sense. So if I can say, wow. Hold on. Okay. Prefix, identifier. I don't want that. Identifier. And then I'll say parts is a query split with a colon. And we'll check this. We'll probably, well, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, so basically here, I'll just say prefix this prefix equals parts 0. This, I'll just call it ID actually. Those parts 1. Okay, I don't think we really need these. but we probably need a URL map, both required. So yeah, it probably makes sense to have a URL getter. So URL map this prefix. Problem is DBXREST will have to happen in a different way. So that's sort of an interesting issue. Oh, that's interesting. This what is this called? What is this called? Oh, GitHub Copilot has a class with a getter that gets some JSX. That's pretty interesting. Huh. So there's some existing code somewhere on GitHub that does that. I didn't think that was allowed. Yeah, so if I were to use this for also DBX refs, it's a lot more complicated than these ontology terms. So not only would you need the URL map, you'd also need some custom processing. Or maybe, should it get this complicated? Have query as a base class and then extend it for ontology terms, and that's probably not a bad idea. Extend it for ontology terms, but then what does the base class do? All it does is breaks it into pieces. Get URL, that's okay, but it wouldn't actually do anything. I don't know what a full URL this would be. Yeah. That is interesting. So get URL in the base class should probably just return, because we don't really know. Should probably just return the, let's have a get term. Well, we don't really have to generate the term, we can just save it. This, what should it be called? We'll just call it term. Or shall I do it like that? Okay. So there's get URL, which for now returns nothing. Get query, which returns yeah. Oh, I don't know if this is way overkill. It is handy that it does the splitting, and the reason we want it to be different is like for these ontology term IDs, all you do is attach the identifier to each of these. But with DBXREST, it's way, way more complicated. I like this though, I'll tell you that. And then there'd be ontology, where we'd this wouldn't really be a component. This is more of a library. So let's move this to libs here. Okay. Um, from libs, yeah. And then here we do class ontology term extends query. Constructor, we don't need a constructor because it already does what we want. We need to override get query. Yeah, so we don't need to override that either. We do need to override URL, which would use this map. So this would return URL map. Yeah, URL map. Except it needs this prefix. Okay, sort of. What's wrong with this? I have to do it in each. This prefix, I do use it. Am I doing this wrong? Do I not know how to do JavaScript classes anymore? Private. So private field. What does it need? Semicolons, I wonder? No, that made no difference. Private fields. Private field. So you can do that. Can I not access like private field? Private fields are added to construction for subclass. Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't remember that. So yeah, the fact that I have these here doesn't help over here. Yeah, I mean, I could just make them regular. Um, hang on here. Oh, okay. Let's see. Have to review how classes work here. Antonio, is there yeah. So yeah, that's sort of outside any method only applies to private members. So yeah, let's just make them non-private members then. Okay, so this, okay, that was a bridge too far. That way, we can say, so in this case, and I suppose I could have in the constructor, yeah, that plus, wait, got confused there. Forgot how super works too. Wait, super. So that's the base, extends, super name. Okay. So what I need to do here is okay, so that will break this into two pieces, populate the prefix and ID, and then we can overwrite the ID with this dot ID equals this dot ID, replace colon with underscore. Okay. And then return URL map. Yeah. Um, so use a string template here. So URL map that, and then the ID. That's probably all I need in there. No, I'm again wondering if it's actually worth it to do this. And so ontology term ID would take a query type, which is one of these. Well, ontology term. Ontology term. So this split has already happened. And so here all I need is ontology term dot query, if I, oh, not, URL rather. URL. Let me look up, I forgot how getters work now. Get area, rectangle square dot area. Yeah. It's missing in props validation. So ontology term. Ontology term is an object. Then we have to make sure it's a valid ontology term. So if it's invalid, then this split command failed. And prefix and ID would be, so get valid, return this dot prefix and this dot ID. Okay. So href is ontology term URL, which is this, or this. Then the term ID would be ontology term dot query. So that's if ontology term dot valid. Call it is valid. Return that. Otherwise, it just returns the ontology term dot query. Okay. Yeah, I think this works. If it's overkill or not is kind of a question, I suppose. Export. So the argument my colleague made is that it'd be nicer to not have to do checking when you render the term, and I would agree with that. And if we just had an object and not a class, that'd be okay too. It's kind of nice to be able to do it like this. So here we're calling on the base class to break them apart, and then we overwrite one of them, but keep the original term. And then we override the URL. Then we have this functional component to render it. And if it's valid, then we get the URL here. With the original term. Otherwise, just display the original term, in which case the prefix and ID don't apply. I can see an argument against this going this far, but I'm liking this actually. I think it's a good use of getters and setters, or getters at least. I don't have any setters. No purpose for one that I can think of. Yeah. And then for dbxrefs, yeah, we do something a lot more complicated. In fact, let's open encode. Encode. And look at the dbxref code there. So it has this huge mapping thing. Generates an href in this function. So this would have to be part of the URL method. Has a list. Yeah, I think this would work. So when it displays it, when it returns JSX, it will just grab the URL. Yeah, I think this works for that too. It'd just be a lot more complicated, but I don't think we need any additional functionality, like different methods. And if we did, we can just add them at that time, and we'll. I think the IGVF one won't be as complicated as this. So, yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, and then I need to go wherever we do this. So presumably I'd receive one of those objects here and then pass it here. Oh yeah, had to change the test as well. You're right. So here's where I display it. And again, I'd pass the object here. And maybe, okay, so what is this? This is assay ontology term. Let's see what we have here. I wonder if I should make it here. So assay ontology term. Actually, why don't I do that? Yeah, that's not going to work. So this is for an individual term. I could convert it in here to one of those objects and pass that in here. What about the collection page though? I may not need it at all. Term ID, term name. Yeah, I wonder if I need the term name. What was the difference? Assay term name? Is that what it was called? No. It's assay ontology terms. Ontology terms. It has a term ID and the term name. I don't know if we really need to keep the term name in there as well. Probably not. That's kind of not the point of the query. Yeah, so I think on the index page, all I'm doing is displaying the term. For this page, I can do it instead of assay ontology term. Well, that's the object. The assay ontology term, which contains the ID. Okay, so the ID only comes in here. Category slims. Yeah. So ontology term. So I need to convert Oh, I need to do it here, huh? Term name. Data item. Term name, term reference, ontology term ID. So this is where we display the link. Yeah, I'm sort of thinking maybe this should take the string. So ontology term ID. Then we do ontology term equals new ontology term ID. If ontology term is valid, ontology term URI. There. Yeah, I think that works. What does that mean? I import that. Oh, can we not export class? What have I done? Export class. I forgot what classes we use here. No, we've done it. Export class carrier extends. Yeah. Export class ontology term. There's no errors here. It's class extends value undefined is not a constructor or null. What does that mean? Class ontology term extends. Extends. Class extends value undefined. Oh, is it saying curry is not defined? Export class curry from libs. So we're in components libs curry. Oh, I don't know why to have JS there. but that shouldn't affect this. It's not a constructor or null. Export default. That's what it is. Cannot set property. Oh. I can call this ID. Will that help? Split. Query. Why is that undefined? Super with this. Ontology term with this. Okay, I'm gonna, so I think none of these are going to appear in the debugger. I'll do a console log base. Cannot read properties of undefined. Where would that be undefined? Base undefined. Okay, put that here. Ontology term. Ontology term. Oh, yes. Term ID, ontology term ID. Yeah, I'll just change this to term ID. I don't know why I changed it away from that. So term ID, term ID. Okay, that's not right. Type string. Term ID 136. Well, there is none. Invalid prop. Okay. Assay ontology terms. Oh, I should, man, I should go to this page because I haven't updated the other ones yet. Okay, yeah. So this should work. Well, it did not. Okay, let's take a look here. Ontology term URL. Let's look at ontology term. Hopefully it's here. Ontology. So here, this dot prefix, this dot ID. Okay, this dot prefix. OBI. Oh yeah, this should display, not that. URL base equals that if yeah, okay, so if URL base, then do that. Otherwise, return an empty string. So return URL base or empty string. Right, so is valid should actually also, if this dot prefix, so this one should be get is valid. Return this dot prefix and this dot ID and this and URL map. This dot prefix return something. Then it's valid. Then I can do this, otherwise that. Yeah, so now it's not a link. Oh, none of these will be links. Okay. And so let's do this for the disease page as well. Which is here. And so for this one, I'm passing ontology term data item. Ontology term equals that. Ontology. So that should just work, shouldn't it? DOID HP. Isn't there anything we've defined? EFO Uberon. No? There we go. So this one should work. Yeah, okay, so it's probably just not defined. Uberon, was that in here? Yep. So that's Uberon, IRI, OBO, and that. CL. I'd like to see one of these work. But they're all term not found. And none of these are defined. And yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, so basically I have this updated with that suggestion. And I do think it's better. I think it's cleaner, if not smaller. And so I'll off stream. I'll just keep cleaning this up. So anyway, I shall join you again probably tomorrow sometime.